Today on the Topping Show, leftists are upset over a proposal to put Charlie Kirk on a U.S. coin. JD Vance points out that it was a leftist who committed a recent shooting of ICE detainees. YouTube shuts down Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes channels immediately after they created them. U.S. Treasury says that they will not bail out New York City if Mamdani wins the election and his policies cause the city to declare bankruptcy. Ford goes for ultra-low credit score clienteles to try to boost sales of Ford F-150 pickup trucks. And Toyota recalls nearly 600,000 vehicles. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show, which is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT, value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see your founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's measy, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters. You can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Ford Motor Company going after clienteles with ultra-low credit scores to try to boost sales of the F-150, the iconic pickup truck. Now, this is brought to us thanks to thedrive.com. And, well, maybe I don't need to put a visual disclaimer on the screen. The Ford F-150 doesn't look all terrible, necessarily. But this is also credited to Joel, who's right over there. Again, this is credited to Joel Feder at thedrive.com. And they say, quote, Ford's chasing F-150 sales with low credit consumers. In a race to sell more F-150s to close the quarter, Ford's chasing buyers with the weakest credit scores with ultra-low interest rates. And here you can see one of the Ford F-150s being assembled, which, ironically, this looks like one of the F-150 Lightnings, which, I mean, they shouldn't want more sales because they lose, $50,000 per EV sold? Friendly reminder, they lost $4.8 billion on EVs in 2024, on track to lose $5.2 billion on EVs in 2025. Those sales are growing, but yeah, the losses are adding up. So in this case, I actually probably wouldn't want to sell that one, but I only partially jest. And they say, quote, they say, good morning and welcome to the downshift, or TDS for short. Tight, light, and right. The TDS grabs the latest automotive news from around the world, goes places. There's summarized below. Oh, pulling that up right here. Basically the effect of, is what am I driving? Nothing today, but Ford might help me out. Ford is courting buyers the weakest acceptable or even shakier credit ratings with lower interest rates in order to sell more F-150s before the end of the quarter. But while the unusual end-of-quarter sales promotion addresses affordability for shoppers with weak credit, it could also put them in a risky position if the job market turns. Which, yeah. And a lot of these companies are struggling just trying to think, how are we ever going to get more of these sales out? And one of the ways you can attract more buyers, especially automobiles, is slashing interest rates. Because again, that adds up greatly in the aggregate when you're actually paying for the vehicle throughout time. And I was surprised. Did a little research. I was going to make fun of Ford for trying to copy Nissan because, well, Nissan is known for Altima and BAE Energy. And Nissan credit is basically how that company still exists because they find people with very, very low credit. Ford's actually been doing pretty similar business model for decades, very similar to Hyundai and Kia, where they'll go after buyers with lower credit. In this case, though, they're also giving more incentives for the vehicle that they are known for. Again, they're a truck company these days, but it's also the one that is the most profitable, so they can't drop prices too much. And again, Ford Motor Company, they have a little division for Ford Motor Credit, like every other company on the planet in the auto industry where they make lots of money via the credit company. If it goes too low, I do wonder, do they actually go negative with these things? Now, it is also a real thing where, everything adds up in the aggregate, also savings. So when they're dealing with subcontractors, part of the components of these vehicles, there are discounts, just like when you and I go to the Costco. Well, not me, I'm too frugal to pay for the membership, but nevertheless, when normal people go to the Costco, you get a discount for buying things in great bulk. Same thing for subcomponents for these vehicles. These vehicles have between 10 and 30,000 components per vehicle. It is a marvel of engineering, most of which I don't appreciate because I only want a gas vehicle with 3 pedals, but I know lots of people love the whiz bangs and cool, shiny new things they've crammed with cars these days. Now, with Ford, they might want to get these, again, the volume up so they can maintain or even get more discounts to those subcomponents. But I do wonder, again, targeting their most prized possession, the Ford F-150, the Ford F-150 truck. America. Automatic transmission. But I do wonder if this could actually hurt their brand reputation, focusing on the main product and discounting it. And other brands have had issues in the past. Dodge, I mean, shoot, the street takeovers, the Challengers and the Chargers. You do, long term, they could ding the brand reputation, but it might save them this fiscal quarter, which, again, if you're a publicly traded company, the fiscal quarters are what Americans value most and shareholders value most. It's one of the biggest things optics is, what is your profitability? What is your sales? How are you looking for a business perspective? And with Ford, how much profit do they have to actually pay out dividends as well, as they've been doing that for over 100 years. They're one of the highest percentage, again, not financial advice, of dividend payers in the auto industry. It'll be interesting to see, and let me know in the comments, do you think this is a good idea for Ford? It might, help them this fiscal quarter, but could it hurt them long term? I mean, either way, Ford does need sales. And I'm actually surprised people buy them. They've had 115 recalls this year, which is a record. The second highest, I think, is Chrysler at 33 recalls. In terms of the big three, which used to be Ford, GM, and Chrysler, which is now Stellantis around Italy. But I believe globally, Volkswagen is at 70 something. So I mean, Ford is killing it in the recall, game. So I know that's causing some buyer hesitation. So we'll see if this actually increases their sales. I think it might help them out, this fiscal quarter, but I don't know what they're going to do long term with all these recalls and the prices of their vehicles just keep going up. I mean, now a truck is six figures for a damn truck, which, again, when Henry Ford thought of, mass producing trucks, they were cheaper than cars. They were known for being utilitarian, farm machinery. Again, that's changed. Now the trucks are a luxury. They got, they got fancy leather. They got the Bluetooth. They used to have Blu-ray players. Now they just probably stream to Netflix and all that kind of stuff. I mean, now they're very much a luxury vehicle. And again, they make more profit because of it. But it boggles my mind how many people will pay six figures for a pickup truck, especially for personal use. It blows my mind. But I don't know. Again, I think it'll still help them out this, short term. But long term, I think it actually might hurt the company. But let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Report podcast, you have leftists that are fierce and irate that there's a proposal to put Charlie Kirk on U.S. coins. Now, this first brought to us thanks to Spencer. He says, quote, legislation has been filed in Congress to put Charlie Kirk on U.S. coinage. And talk about going viral, I got 28 million views and 4.2 thousand likes, which, again, I don't have anything of value in terms of, too fancy of coins, but I do love currency and history and old coins. I mean, a penny used to be the size of a quarter back in the day, and they actually also used to be made of precious metals and even semi-precious metals. I mean, they used to make, it used to be silver back when money was based on real things like silver and gold. A paper dollar used to be a silver certificate. It was just a promise for a piece of silver. And U.S. coins, quarters used to be made out of silver, the mercury dimes. And again, pennies used to be mostly copper. Now they're 99.99% zinc, and they're copper plated, which is mostly trash. And it costs 2 cents to make 1 cent. Perhaps a good metaphor for the U.S. government. It used to work, and now it's just become fake, pathetic, and, pretty ineffective. But again, it's really cool. Throughout history, the coins and our currency tell the tales. When the United States first founded as a country, not everyone lived near a museum. They actually served as educational tools. So they put some of the greatest inventions in history on the back of the paper money, and the coins commemorate our founding fathers and important historical figures. That's why I think it would be cool to have Charlie Kirk's face or, his identity on a U.S. coin. I don't think it should be permanent. I think, obviously for quarters, you have George Washington. But I know, they have done the special quarters throughout the years. When I was a kid, it used to be really cool. They have, all the 50 states are actually imprinted on quarters. And it was they called it a collection. Not financial advice, but yeah, 99.999% of everything that they say is collectible is not. It's just a fun hobby. That's why, coins, maybe this will be a PSA. If you find a vintage coin, never, ever clean it. It's like most antiques. Once you clean a coin, or they call it washing the coin, whether it's using steel wool or some type of abrasive compound, you destroy the value. Collectors don't want it. And you're destroying history. People love the patina. They pay for the authenticity of that. The little ADHD, PSA of the day, don't clean any vintage or antique items, especially coins. Because again, it'll be worth nothing compared to what you could have gotten. Even just a little tear on a dollar could drop the value by tens of thousands of dollars. That's how insane the grading is of collectible currencies, which I find fascinating, but I don't have the disposable income to actually truly get into. I have a couple cool old coins, but nothing to write home about. So that's why it'd be really cool in terms of the impact Charlie Kirk had on the country. He helped Donald Trump get elected. He got the vote out. He actually had an open dialogue and trying to bring people together. I think it'd be cool to have him on a temporary, currency rollout, or maybe for 1 or 2 years they put his face on one of these commemorative coins. And I should clarify, coins are going to use circulation. There's also the collectible coins, which again they make all the time. The U.S. Treasury. You also had the Franklin Mint and all those places that again try to sell collectibles. Again, not financial advice, but I would invest my money in anything except those quote unquote collectibles. But I think it'd be really cool to have it. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Raj, and he has a little AI generated picture of Charlie Kirk and Jesus. Says, "Father, I could have led more to you." He says, "Son, you have no idea how many you just did." That's a funny picture from Theo Pix. There's Charlie Kirk looking comical on a coin, getting 19,000 likes. Bestest Basketball Opinions has a screenshot of a leftist tweet who says, "I can't believe Charlie Kirk was actually less annoying when he was alive, getting 11,000 likes." Let's see. Ricky also says he was a podcaster who argued with the college kids. He wasn't Nelson Mandela. Good God, people get a grip, getting 17,000 likes, which, again, he won over a lot of hearts and minds. He also reignited, I would argue, Catholicism for many people. Well, I mean, record number of people are going to church. I've seen this anecdotally, and just look on social media. It's extremely impressive. And you have record number of people going to college campuses, going out in public and trying to have more constructive conversations. You also have Raj Ase with the Jim from The Office, whiteboard meme, or meme as I call him. He says Charlie Kirk wasn't killed because of what he had to say. He's killed because young were listening to him, getting 27 likes. The random guy has a tweet from Charlie Kirk a couple years ago saying, quote, "Get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, seek true joy. Eventually, we will replace the nihilists," getting 23 likes. You also have Mad Woman 56 having the Office meme says, "That's great, but I'm going to need those Epstein files," getting 5.3 thousand likes, which, yeah, what does Mamdani do? I don't know why she gets paid anything. Presumably she does things to warrant a paycheck. Personally, I haven't really seen in terms of, what she really does to deserve a paycheck personally. Now, it also was roasted by Evan Loves Wharf. He responds to this announcement. Again, this is just legislation that's been filed. It's a long way, and I'm kind of skeptical if it'll actually, go anywhere. Now, he says he was an effing podcaster, and that got 23.5 million views and 823,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to X Van Fleet, famous individual who escaped communism in China. And he said, quote, "Charlie is far too great for the left to even comprehend," getting 180 likes. Walton Wisdom says, quote, "Y'all literally rioted and built statues for a drug addict," getting 10,000 likes, which, yeah. I mean, they caused $2 billion in property damage after the George Floyd incident. Yeah, $2 billion in property damage. Was it 27 people who died and hundreds injured? They built statues, painted murals to him. A guy who is famous for being a lifetime criminal, a lifetime druggie, and famously robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint. So again, I would argue that is a use case for a POS that should never be worshipped, yet alone remembered in a positive light. Maybe I'm crazy to think we shouldn't worship people who rob pregnant women at gunpoint. And also, lifetime drug user also he was also trying to use fake U.S. currency, so he's stealing from that store at the time as well. And he died from overdose. And yet, yeah, they built statues. They made him their martyr. You also have Michael Anderson says, quote, "If this degenerate gets statues, Charlie Kirk deserves to have his face on a coin." There's some of the George Floyd statues that they made, getting 4.2 thousand likes. Conservative KER says the Charlie Kirk assassination has done a great job of identifying the worst of humanity, and turns out they're all Democrats, getting 823 likes. Which, I would say they're all leftists. I've had actually a couple Democrats past couple weeks who gave me some hope in terms of, not everyone is lost, where they kind of had their eyes opened up to the fact that their side is cheering on death, and their side is worshiping the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, who assassinated Charlie Kirk. So again, say we all want Charlie Kirk, he was having conversations with everyone, trying to bring people together. So there are some people who I actually do believe are coming over to the middle and to the right and starting to realize how radical the leftists have become. Depending on what day you ask me, I may or may not believe that's a majority of the folks. But it's horrifying that leftists are literally printing T-shirts and making swag with Charlie Kirk getting shot on it, and celebrating that fact. I also have Christian D says, and who is this person again? It was a very large African American woman statue in Times Square getting 2.1 thousand likes, which, yeah, that's literally a statue of, again, she had no accomplishments in athletics or business or, even helping out the community. You're just an average person. You also have Nunya Business said she was an effing tour guide of Sacagawea on a coin, getting 233 likes. Got a couple more pictures of George Floyd statues that were put up everywhere. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any more. Let's see here. Let's see. Someone says, Charlie Kirk personally organized the Young Black Leadership Summit, which brought over 400 young Black Americans to the White House, the largest gathering of young Black Americans at the White House in history at the time. Do a lot of other podcasters do that, getting 609 likes? Nope. Makes it get 610. Ooh, 628 likes. Let's see. You also have Nunya Losh says he was an effing drug addict, and it's CNN from September 19, 2020, saying Minneapolis City Council approves renaming street after George Floyd, getting 196 likes. Yep. Here you see some murals painted of George Floyd. Yeah. Again, George Floyd was doing drugs, robbing people, destroying the community while having a kid. There's also a POS father, putting his life in danger multiple times, destroying the community when he should have been, looking out for the kid, doing what's right for the kid. So they're very, very irate, and we'll see if they ever, if they actually approve this idea or this legislation. Again, I don't think it should be a permanent coin necessarily, but yeah, maybe for a year or two. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have YouTube shutting down the newly created channels of Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones nearly immediately, the day after they admitted, oh yeah, Biden administration forced us to censor people and we did their dirty work for them. I should clarify, they didn't force YouTube, Alphabet to do that. Maybe they just implied that they needed to do it, and they acquiesced and they did all the government asked and more in terms of censoring people. Now again, they've been banned for several years, and they thought, YouTube's admitting that they, canceled people improperly when it comes to political views, medical views as well. So we're going to start our channels again. And yep, just like that. Yeah, it says the page isn't available. Sorry about that. Try searching for something else. And again, I always think that Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes are really good parameters for asking people if they truly believe in free speech. Because again, they're extremely bombastic. And, well, it's actually concerning how many times Alex Jones has been right throughout the years. Let's just say I've had to put that dollar to the jar more than one time, the Alex Jones was right jar. But they're an exceptional parameter because if someone truly believes in free speech, they'll say, yeah, these guys deserve free speech. They say some terrible things I don't agree with, but again, they're American citizens. They have their rights. They deserve free speech. Now, it is interesting when sometimes, many times, some people squirm and be like, I don't know, maybe they don't deserve. No, they're law-abiding citizens, so they should have their platform as well. And this one pretty well. I got 2.8 million views and 22,000 likes. My first comments comes to us thanks to Joe Enders saying, quote, she lied to the American public. YouTube gained 5.9 thousand likes. Because again, they said, oh yeah, we did that before. We're not going to do that anymore. And then they started their channels, and immediately YouTube nuked them. You also have Cletus, which has the recycle logo, but a cat is in the middle. And it says, I wake up, Democrats get caught doing something shady. Republicans yell, nothing happens. I wake up and it's a circle more, which now that's not totally inaccurate. Republicans will send them a very angry worded letter, or they'll go on the TV and C-SPAN, they'll ask them really hard questions, in which they'll just say they plead the fifth and face no fiscal or, actual, jail time. So they'll have no fiscal consequences, and no negative ramifications. They'll get that finger wag though. You darn Democrats, you darn companies better start breaking the Constitution, being evil. Which is why I said earlier this week, even if YouTube or Alphabet parent company, even if the government hit them with $1 billion fine, that wouldn't matter. They're a multi-trillion-dollar company. Will value it at with multi-billion dollars in yearly revenue. They got to the point where it's nearly impossible to hurt them fiscally speaking because they're so large. If the U.S. government were to say, okay, you're going to open up your algorithm, you're going to show that you're not shadow banning accounts, that you're not censoring Americans on the platform, that I think would be the only result I would be happy with. Now, I don't think that'll ever happen because again, the algorithm Sorry about the starting today. I always joke that I speak more quickly than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs. But as I slowly but surely got more subscribers, I've gotten better at speaking. Though some might argue barely any improvement at all. I would say, technically speaking, statistically, I've gotten slightly better, which fuels my theory that the more subscribers I get, the better I speak. So if you click that button, tell your friends and your enemies, I greatly appreciate it, especially your enemies. They might be so enamored and impressed by the material that you absorb and you recommend that they then become your friends. Or they hate my show so much, they become greater enemies and becomes a physical altercation. So maybe I shouldn't recommend that. Either way, make for a funny story. And, why not? Tell your enemies as well. Now, going back to the main comment section, someone by the name of Garbage Human, which A+ for marketing, is in fact Oscar the Grouch in the garbage can. Got 434,000 followers on X. Says 2025 YouTube is no different than 2015 YouTube. He has a Jewish man with a walkie-talkie saying shut it down, getting 2.4 thousand likes. Templorin says German author and activist Martin Sellner's channel 2. It's the same thing where YouTube killed it, getting 221 likes. Human error 404. Changes Google's logo says Gulag, getting 123 likes. Let's see. The random guy has a picture of, the Peanuts. So Snoopy and Charlie Brown says, what do you miss? I miss the way I viewed the world before I knew so much about it, gained 73 likes. We also have Dominic Michael Trippy saying, quote, they completely lied about their renewed commitment to free speech across the aisle. And it says updates from YouTube, and they say, we've had a lot of questions about a pathway back to YouTube for some terminated creators to set up a new channel. This will be a limited pilot project and will be available to a subset of creators in addition to those channels terminated for policies that have been depreciated. More to come. Yeah. Got 2.5 thousand likes. Let's see. Byron Gaines says, we need to pressure YouTube, getting 5.1 thousand likes, which, at this point, I think that is, it'll be interesting to see what legal mechanism the government does, but yeah, in terms of financially finding them, that's not going to work. And maybe get rid of Section 230, which again, that's not an original idea. People have said that for many years. But yeah, it's one of those things where, there's so many good creators who have been shadow banned throughout the years, as well as deplatformed. Also as YouTube, they say some people can come back. Well, they admitted the wrongdoing. Are they going to pay those creators? Also, what about their lost opportunity cost? Those creators could have been gathering not only, ad sales dollars, but building their brand reputation, building their following, building their subscriber base. There's a lot of people who didn't start YouTube channels because they knew YouTube was so corrupt and evil. They didn't even try. And there's some great creators that we'll never know about because of YouTube's policies, because it's so coercive and so one-sided. So, I'm not surprised that YouTube banned two of the most popular creators in social media, and is yet another reason why you should download the Rumble app or X. At least they are better about censorship. Now again, Elon Musk is definitely not perfect. We had to basically poke him to get, gently remind him hey, why don't you let Alex Jones back on the channel? Which again, I think Alex Jones is the perfect test for true freedom of speech. Just ask someone, does Alex Jones deserve freedom of speech? And if they're American, actually believe in the founding fathers, they'll say, oh, absolutely. He might say some crazy stuff I don't agree with, but yeah, he agrees to have his voice heard. But that's just my 3 cents. It used to be 2 cents, but hyperinflation got to be 3 cents. But as always, let me know your thoughts and comments, because I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have U.S. Treasury saying that if Mamdani wins election and bankrupts New York City, they will not bail him out. Now, this brought to us thanks to Ed Daughtry. He says, quote, Justin, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessonette says if Zohran Mamdani carries out his socialist plans as mayor, New York City will be begging for a federal bailout, and he won't give it to them. And also talking a little bit about Argentina in the beginning here.
But Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, says that this is a taxpayer-funded bailout and is more about politics than U.S. interests. What do you want to say to Elizabeth Warren here?
Well, I tweeted it out yesterday. Senator Warren and her protege, Mr. Mamdani, who's running for mayor of New York, they are American Peronist. They want to do to the U.S. economy what the Perones, the General and Evita did to the U.S. They want to take control. So, and I guarantee you, and there are not a lot of things in life that are sure, that New York City will be coming to the federal government for a bailout if the Mamdani plans are implemented.
And are you going to give him that bailout?
It will be the same thing that Gerald Ford said. Drop dead.
Drop dead. debt.
Which, again, they say that now. I don't think our federal tax dollars should pay for that if the city were to fail. However, the government has a history of bending the rules. When Obama was in charge years ago and Detroit was bankrupt, the federal government didn't actually, send them any money. They actually, they didn't send them a check directly. But they worked around it. They had a couple of programs, including bailing out the big three it was the big three that almost went bankrupt. Ford did not. But they give big lucrative loans to General Motors, as well as Chrysler, which Chrysler ended up selling out to Fiat. But it's an instance where there's some indirect ways that they were funding the city. So, I forget what it's been a long week, so apologies. But yeah, they still ended up paying for it. So I do wonder, again, would they just call it something else or have it be certain loans? Now, what would the alternative be? Again, I don't think they should get any money if his policies bankrupt the city, which I suspect they will, because any business or person with money is going to move immediately away from New York City, which I pejoratively mispronounce. They're going to go literally anywhere else where you are not just safer, but you actually get to keep more of your money and the government steals less of it. So Mamdani literally says, oh yeah, all my plans will work because I'll just convince rich people and business owners and people, that pay taxes that, it actually helps you out to pay for all this free stuff, which, no, it absolutely will not. And they'll move immediately. And this went pretty viral. Got 700,000 views, as well as 21,000 likes. Our first comments comes to us thanks to Mrs. B with the meme from Seinfeld. There's a famous episode where you have the fat naked guy on the train, and he goes, well, in this case, he has a communist, hammer and sickle on him. He goes, I'm not ashamed of my history. And Jerry Seinfeld goes, exactly. Well, was Jerry's accent like, exactly, you're part of the problem. That's the problem, you should be. Which perhaps that was the worst Jerry Seinfeld impression all year, but nevertheless, the attempt was made here. That did get 246 likes. We have Dean Dreamcatcher, has a picture of the Twin Towers, and says, I'll give you 2,296 reasons not to elect a radical Muslim as a New York City mayor. Get 195 likes, which, is it because he worked for the CIA? I'm only partially kidding. Interesting how Tower 7 just fell randomly. Nevertheless, we also had Mrs. B with a meme from Lord of the Rings. It's Frodo reading the Communist Manifesto. He says, it's some sort of retard, I can't read it. And Gandalf says, there are too many who can. Getting 89 likes. Mrs. Kite also has a picture of the Daily News. Back when the newspaper was 15 cents. It says, Florida City dropped dead. Vows he'll veto any bailout plan, getting 61 likes. Mrs. B also says, Mamdani practicing for his upcoming campaign fundraising meeting. He's doing shoulder press of little pink dumbbells that are coated with the rubber. Getting 54 likes, which, yeah, that's kind of hilarious to see him attempt to do a bench press. I believe he's 135 pounds. He couldn't even do that. Which, again, he chose to look like an idiot. He saw the bench press and goes, I'll do that. And he fails epically. Or as he would say, he redistributed the weight to a comrade because the person spotting him took a bunch of the brunt for him. You also have a couple more animated or little GIFs. AI and Zoran's pouring Kool-Aid to AOC with a Marxist logo on it, getting 139 likes. Is there any contrarian comments here? And a lot of people were just bringing up old newspaper clippings of Ford saying drop dead. Dr. Lucien Wolf says, New York City about to learn the hard way. Treasury Secretary, she just told him flat out, if Mamdani runs his socialist circus to the ground, don't come crawling to DC. Posts, will you bail him out? Drop dead. That's the sound of money faucet being turned off, getting 51 likes. Though then I do also wonder who would bail him out. Would it be China or more foreign interest? Someone's going to buy that debt on the cheap. Maybe the private sector? Some venture capitalist? Maybe? Let's see here. Yeah, BRH4 saying thank God for Trump and the Trump administration, getting 4 likes. Marcus Friedman Tudor says, if New Yorkers are so gone to vote for an individual like Mamdani, of course there will be no federal bailout for the guaranteed catastrophic collapse, getting 5 likes. JC says, LOL, another response for handout, getting 4 likes. Let's see. Orlando says, Bessinet is so intelligent and awesome. So glad we have him working for us. Getting 4 likes. Was it the 1990s meme or GIF? You have Emeril Lagasse, the old Food Network, going, bam! That's from Florida Wingnut game 1 like. I also have JM saying, let's be honest, Mamdani would mismanage the state into bankruptcy like all the other communist governors in this country. The Senate would absolutely cut him off from federal funding just so we can see how he manages his finances, getting 32 likes. The Majestic Lion says the world center of capitalism will relocate from New York City to Florida, getting 21 likes, which, yeah, a lot of the financial companies, a lot of venture capitalists, again, they have long historic ties to the Northeast. But we've seen many famous industries that used to be headquartered there absolutely just leave. One of the most famous ones would be fire companies. I mean, historically, the United States started off on the East Coast. A lot of the most famous fire companies in history, Smith & Wesson, Remington, Colt, they all had factories over there as part of our history. However, those moronic leftist states started to pass legislation to ban the products which they sold, famously, or one of the most common ones being the AR-15 pattern rifle, which is the most common rifle sold in the United States, as well as things like standard magazines, aka magazines with 30-round capacity. And those gun companies have left. One of the first ones was Colt. They specifically moved their AR-15 manufacturing out of the state. They were moving the headquarters. Smith & Wesson famously relocated their huge headquarters out of the Northeast, now going down to Tennessee. A lot of those famous historic firearm companies all left. They used to all be headquartered there. There's new startups throughout the U.S., but some of the most historic companies, they were all there for a while. Now they all left. They went to states where not only there are less taxes, but states would actually defend the products that they manufacture, say that states that don't want to ban them out of existence. I believe it was like $300 million to the new Smith & Wesson headquarters in Tennessee. It was huge. That was a great investment for the community, the people there, and the locals loved it. But yeah, we've seen trends, even with California, which I personally mispronounce as a slight to the state. They're best known for tech. Some of the biggest tech companies there all relocated. They went to places like Tennessee, Oracle, famously. You also have places like Austin, Texas. It wasn't just one company. It was Oracle, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, CrowdStrike, just to name a couple. And those are some of the biggest ones out there. It's gotten to the point where even the bluest states, the most established companies are leaving them. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the finance bros leave the Northeast, go to a place like Texas, go to a place like Florida, maybe Tennessee. There are a lot of places that have great investment opportunities. And a lot of places that want businesses to move there. They give them incentives. And yet Zoran's like, oh yeah, they won't leave. I'll convince them. I'll just say how good it is to inflate all these free services for the folks. So again, I think the finance bros, a lot of those guys will relocate. I also have Tommy saying, how in the hell can any New York City citizen vote for a communist Islamist? Just look at London, where the Islamist mayor has destroyed London, gained 28 likes. Let's see. There really aren't many contrarian statements here. Jay Lee says Scott Bassett is a beast. Mamdani won't be the first who took Bassett on and lose big, gained 41 likes. But again, Democrats voted for Zoran during the Democrat primary. He won it. And I'm pretty skeptical to see if he actually is defeated. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have J.D. Vance calling it out and saying, oh yeah, the person who shot the ICE detainees, he was a leftist. Yet again. Now, this is brought to us thanks to, of course, J.D. Vance. He's actually responded to John Favreau. Now, J.D. Vance says, the obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack and their families. And John Favreau says, the vice president is not a reliable source of information. This is now the 5th or 6th time he's posted a political take contradicted by facts from his own law enforcement agencies. Then J.D. Vance roasted him, saying, the gunman had anti-ICE messaging carved on the bullets he used. What precisely did I get wrong, dipshit? Which, this is a pretty interesting, I think, entertaining for the American people, shift in J.D. Vance giving out more and more zingers, and I think being more comfortable, not precisely emulating Trump precisely, but being more tongue-in-cheek with the public and being more affirmative in his statements, which I think a lot of the folks out there are going to appreciate. And that's why this went pretty darn viral. It got, again, 28 million views and 277,000 likes, which is quite a few to say the least. Now, again, this is yet another tragic incident where you had an evil, terrible person take out a rifle and ended up shooting some detainees. Now, some people thought it might, again, when the news first broke, they thought, is this some MAGA who hates, illegals, something like that? Which, again, on its face value also doesn't make sense because this is the agency getting these people out of the country. The people who are illegally here, ICE is moving them away. So right off the bat, I was like, yeah, no one who is MAGA wants to stop or disrupt that process. Obviously, this person was just a terrible shot in terms of they missed the ICE agents they were going after, and it hurt these folks. And yeah, JD Vance called it completely. And yet more evidence we have mounting every day that, yeah, the left is, again, leftist, extremely violent. Now, some of the top comments comes to us thanks to the red-headed libertarian. And she said, she has a drawing of JD Vance that says, "What precisely did I get wrong, dipshit?" Getting 226,000 likes. Wall Street Maverick says 48 isn't pulling punches anymore, getting 3,000 likes. Owner Operator says, "I voted for this dipshit," getting 18,000 likes. One of the best independent reporters, Andy No, says, "Keep calling out the liars," getting 4.9 thousand likes. Gunnar Eagleman says, quote, "They want everyone to ignore who the targets were. The crazy leftist was aiming at ICE agents," getting 3.7 thousand likes. Brandon Herrera, also known as the AK guy, says, "Weapons grade cope from the left has been mind-blowing." You have the stripper clip of bullets, and it says anti-ICE on one of them, getting 7.5 thousand likes. Rick Suit also says the gif of the guy looking in the, what was that? The guy looking at the camera awkwardly, getting 1,000 likes. And he says, quote, Matt Van Soul says, quote, "I asked him the same question. Interesting how you ask them to be specific and instantly they fall apart with their lies." Getting 2.4 thousand likes. Cash Loren says, "They want everyone to ignore that these are left-wing radicals," getting 62,000 likes. Imas Chong says, quote, "Leftists are good at engaging in the active denial of reality. This isn't happening, you liar, but I'm going to celebrate how it's good and it happens, and I encourage it, actually." A quote from them, getting 427 likes. Sasspress84 says, quote, "It literally had anti-ICE on the casing. These people so badly want to control the narrative. Not this time. Not during this administration will we be censored from giving the truth out." Getting 738 likes. Alzuma says, "John Favreau is a dipshit. It's accurate, as in the reporting on what was inscribed on the bullets," getting 379 likes. I had to scroll a little bit there, but we're getting our contrarians here brewing to the surface. Keith Olbermann says, quote, "Your government might have this right and might be fabricating it. You've already spent your credibility, but the man shot detainees, not agents. So the logic here would be you're a liar. Eyeliner boy, JV, got 582 likes. Was he ratioed though? Let's see. CJJ says he's not going to date you, Karen. He's happily married and straight, getting 8 likes. Let's see. Pulse of the People says the man was shooting into a blacked out van, dumbass. Damn Democrats will do anything to cover up their violence. If he wanted to kill illegals, he would have gone to Home Depot or Orchard. Not a damn federally protected building, dumbass, getting 10 likes. Trump Tracker says, yes, the FBI planted it, getting 207 likes. Was he ratioed? No, but many people did call him retarded. Which he says the FBI planted it. What would the upside be? I mean, again, I love my conspiracy theories. I'm willing to entertain a lot of data out there. But yeah, why would the FBI do that? Trump's already in charge. He already has the objective of, ramping up deportations. This only fuels that. I mean, he doesn't need more fuel. The directive is there. You have Human, although that's just what a robot would say. Human says, it's important to note J.D. Vance once compared Trump to Hitler. Now he's Trump's vice president. Getting 426 likes and a take from a couple years ago. Was he ratioed? Let's see. No. Cecil Stitches, interesting name, says he's practically Trump's suppository, getting 10 likes. Worldwide Wade says, great couple. Whatever they say yesterday, they'll do the opposite tomorrow, getting 5 likes. We also have Joe. Says, oh, tough guy swearing at a podcaster. Dude, you're so effing lame. You can't even order your goddamn donut like a human being. Go F a couch, you hateful poser. No one likes you. Game I got 4.4 thousand likes as from Joe. Her hashtag is JoJo from Jers. He certainly, I guess, is from the shore. A lot of people, well, let's see. He's ratioed by number of comments, but not actually number of likes. We also have Nevada Liberty, 1864, saying vote Republican. They may not be perfect, but the other side is insane. Gained 2.3 thousand likes. Bowden says 110%. Prove me wrong, I'll wait. There's a picture of JD Vance with an AR. It says JD Vance, the biggest upgrade in the history of vice presidents, gained 7.3 thousand likes, which, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty low bar at Pence, but yeah, I'd say so. Someone, Alpha Liger says awesome. It's just JD Vance in the suit. AI during picture. I think it must be a reference to a video game. Says, just what did I get wrong, dipshit? Getting 7.2 thousand likes. Mixtape Maverick has a meme from The Simpsons where it says days. Well, it's been photoshopped. So it says 1, and then it goes down to 0 days without incident from days without leftist media incited shooter, getting 4.1 thousand like. But yeah, turned out to be yet another radical leftist, and unfortunately, I just see this trend accelerating, and we're seeing more and more instances of this. I hope not, but that sure is what it seems like. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Toyota recalling nearly 600,000 vehicles. This brought to us thanks to Dallas Gangon, who's a writer at Yahoo, which somehow still in business. Used to be an epic website, bigger than Google and all of them together. But yeah, not so much these days. Now, they say, quote, Toyota recall, malfunction in 590,000 vehicles could increase the risk of a crash, which is not ideal. And they say, quote, Toyota has issued a nationwide recall of nearly 600,000 vehicles due to a malfunction that could lead to increased risk of crash or increased risk of injury in the event of a crash. The automaker is recalling certain Toyota Venza, Crown Signa, RAV4, GR Corolla, 4Runner, Camry, Grand Highlander, Tacoma, Highlander, and certain Lexus LS, RX, and TX vehicles across the U.S., citing a faulty dashboard panel as a cause. The 12.3-inch display of the instrument panel may be blank during the startup. Operating the vehicle with its display blank reduces the ability to, quote, see certain malfunction indicators. They note that the notice warns that if a vehicle is malfunctioning with someone or while someone is driving, but the driver cannot see it, it could be listed in the instrument panel. They might continue to drive. That could increase the risk of a crash or increase the risk of injury in the event of a crash. Automaker said Lexus and Toyota dealers will inspect and upgrade the programming for all vehicles affected by the recall and replace the faulty parts that could be the cause of malfunction. They say that customers of the recall will be notified by Toyota mid-November and may get a call from the Toyota Brand Engagement Center. Or you call them actually at 1-800-331-4331 for that recall. And again, this is why, you know me, I hate most tech in vehicles. All I want is a gas engine, maybe heated seats, obviously 3 pedals, a manual transmission. And as it become more computerized, you have more tech, there's more variables that can brake. In this case, you got a big old screen that might just not work and lead to lack of communication from the vehicle. And again, Toyota is known for one thing and one thing alone, is reliability, which, again, there are 10 to 30,000 components in a vehicle. I understand many companies have recalls. Every one of them does. Some have greater than others, like Ford at 115. But, yeah, sorry, Toyota recalling nearly 600,000 vehicles. Gotta say, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comments. Great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.